Hello and welcome back to the We Are Career Show, and hope you're having a great week wherever you are in the career sphere. Sabir, what is your week looking like?
Oh my gosh, Chris. So for those of you that are following me right now, you know that I'm currently on my summer live flight tour. So I have been all over the place. I was so grateful for Chris to remind me that we are recording this morning because I could have quite possibly have missed this today. So thank you, Chris, for that. And so speaking of reminders, let me remind you, yes, you amazing, wonderful career development folks, what this show is all about. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, it's basically, We Are Career Show is your fortnightly go-to career professionals snippet of what is happening in the sector. If you're working within the UK market as well as beyond, because we know we have a lot of now international folks who are following us as well. By the way, thank you for that. Who want to, and why should you watch? Well, it's for anyone who wants to improve and enhance their continuous professional development by finding out all the latest issues that are impacting the career development sector. Now, each show we bring you the latest updates in the sector to keep you well informed. Plus, we bring you an inspirational guest, and boy, have we got a great one for you today, based on the topics that matter to you. Now, the aim is simple. It's to connect and build a strong community. And you're going to be hearing a lot about communities today of career professionals so that we can serve our clients in the best possible way. Now, for those of you that don't know me, I'm known as Meet Sabiha, and I help international job hunters stop struggling and start thriving with their career goals. And as always, I've got my wonderful co-host, Chris. Now, Chris, what have we got coming up for this episode today?
Yes, thanks, Sabir. And again, if you're listening or watching for the first time, hello. I'm Chris Webb. I'm a higher education career development professional. And as always, really pleased to be here talking about all things careers on the show. Now, yes, we've got an excellent topic and very much a kind of topical theme today on the podcast. So as this kind of goes out, the academic year will have started. We'll sort of be in the middle of September. And we thought, quite nice to focus on a group that sometimes kind of gets forgotten at this time of year. So this is a group that are kind of dealing with their own specific career challenges, but often the focus tends to be on kind of students. It's the start of the academic year. And what we're saying today is, what about the graduates? So we're going to be thinking a little bit today about kind of graduates. And to help us do that, we've got a fantastic guest in Lawrie Stewart, CEO and founder of Mindless Academy. So Lawrie, a very warm welcome to the show. And I guess for anyone that doesn't know you already, tell us a bit about yourself.
So before we joined this podcast, Sabir actually asked me to tell her a bit about myself. And the first thing that came to mind is just how much I'm completely in love with what we do at Mindless Academy, because we're so much more than employability. We're all about empowerment and actually reimagining a world that's less mindless in a way that we can kind of live, learn and work for the better. So there's a huge purpose behind what we do, and that's what gets me kind of motivated and hungry for building more of this every single day. Just to give you a bit of an overview of Mindless Academy for anybody who's not familiar with us, and then a little bit of context actually as to how we came about. So Mindless Academy is an empowerment and employability partner. We work with universities, charities and responsible brands. And what we do is empower students and graduates with three things: the mindset, skills and the experience that they need to thrive. We do this through virtual work experience programs and a variety of kind of guest talks and events. And we're partnering now with over 20 universities across the UK, over 250 charities and responsible brands. And to date, we've delivered over 10,000 virtual work experiences worldwide, with amazing results, actually. So from an employability perspective, 96% of students, that's final years and graduates, are employed within 6 months of taking part in our program. We're really inclusive and accessible, and that was always kind of the founding design principles of what we do as well. So it's over 86% of students come from a widening participation background. Everything we do is online and super accessible and designed to be so. But the stat and the result that I'm most proud of actually is that out of those 10,000 students and graduates who have walked through our digital doors, not one single student hasn't reported an increase in confidence. Every single student has, even in a short space of time, has really kind of dialed up in their belief in themselves. And I think that's like the mindless magic, we call it in the team. That's the unlocking of potential. And that's what helps students open doors for themselves as they transition out of university and into the world of work. So that's a little bit about Mindless. Just for context, how did Mindless come to be? Was so much more than a business. This was not on the back of a SWOT analysis and a gap in the market for employability at all. This came from an incredibly personal journey. 6 years ago, I think it was now, my mental health completely plummeted for the first time in my life, to an extent that I find difficult today even to articulate. I really embraced that kind of, I was a shadow of my former self. I really was unrecognizable. And it was the worst thing that happened to me, but at the same time, the best thing that happened to me, because I was given a blank canvas on which I could kind of build my life and myself up from scratch. And I tried everything from psychotherapy, counseling, coaching. I dabbled in Buddhism, Hinduism, Stoicism, meditation, mindfulness. Like, I went on an absolute mission to rebuild myself and to really kind of ignite that fire back in myself. And I did. And then after doing that, I really wanted to help others do the same. So it sounds very cliche, but I was on this kind of personal journey to be the best version of myself. I turned my journal into a blog. That blog turned into a global community of storytellers, which turned into a flourishing Instagram community from all over the world. And then I ended up founding Mindless Academy, bringing it all together in one place to help the next generation of leaders really believe in themselves and acquire the skills and that they need to thrive. But I think more so understanding like how to build mental, physical and emotional foundations that kind of give you this foundation of resilience, so that no matter what life throws at you, you can tackle it head on. I built Mindless Academy as a side hustle, and entrepreneurialism is something that we talk about in abundance with the students. I was on the global leadership team at Lego. So I was working at Lego's headquarters over in Denmark for the last 4 years while building Mindless as a side hustle. And I kind of came back on board with Mindless in the last 12 months. And I think that's just one thing to say is I work for one of the world's best employers, which is all about learning through play. And I think that experience for me has just accelerated and bolstered everything that we could possibly do at Mindless, while giving me such a solid understanding of the world of work and actually what businesses need from future talent as well.
Wow. Is anyone else kind of breath being taken away listening to Lawrie? I feel as if I could quite easily put you on a podcast for hours on end and just listen to your soothing voice, talking about what's driving you and what's, why you're passionate about what you are doing, and talking about passion and celebration and innovation. Each show we like to, and our previous viewers will be aware of this, we like to do a careers cheers segment where each show we celebrate, as Lawrie talked about there, innovation, working for companies, you yourself becoming innovative, and as well as inspiring members of the careers community, or simply giving a shout out, something positive that you have witnessed or that you have been a part of, or that you wish you would have been a part of, that's happening in the careers world since our last show. So Lawrie, let me start with you first. What is your careers cheers of the week?
Okay, I'm going to try and not turn this into an Oscar speech with thank yous to all my university partners, but I do want to say thank you. I'm working with the most caring and inspiring people across the sector who genuinely care about supporting their students in the next steps. There's so many brilliant innovations going on and new ways to partner in employability. That's a very exciting place for us to play in. But I can't do a careers cheers without giving a shout out to my team, Georgia and Imogen and Deccan. They're absolutely brilliant, but actually the students who've come from our doors. So I've just got a couple that I'd love to give a shout out to, if that's okay. So Luis Abasoji. So I've been mentoring Luis for the last 12 months. He's an MBS student who's currently on his placement year at Sony. And he attributes a lot of the confidence in getting that placement to his time with Mindless Academy. And he's the ultimate role model of what you can do when you do invest in your mindset and you actually face into fears and take opportunities. So he's a phenomenal role model for our community. And then similarly, more recently is Amira Arbid. So she completed a specialist experience with us about Amazon. And she actually said to me beforehand, did not even believe that it would be possible to get a placement or a job with Amazon. A few weeks later, she's actually got a dream placement with Amazon. And then even, beyond that, so Leeds art student, Lauren Entwistle, she's just done a guest speaker opportunity with us. And she said at the start, like me right now, nervous before coming on screen. It can be terrifying, even if there's just 3 of us in this room. And Lauren faced into those fears in front of hundreds within our community and also landed her dream job as a graphic designer recently. One more to give a shout out to is Anais Brady. So I work with Anais very closely through Liverpool John Moores funded internship scheme 4 years ago. And Anais is now putting into practice all of the skills she mastered with us in marketing at Edge Hill University as well. So there are hundreds of these stories, and I know a lot of our students by name, which I actually love being so hands-on with this. And I'm just so proud of every single one of them.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Some great shout out there, Lawrie. Chris, what about you? Who, what event, what individual or organization are you giving a shout out to today?
Yes, thanks, Spear. So I guess kind of very sort of similarly aligned with the topic we're going to be talking about today. My shout out is to the Graduate Career Support Network. So this is a kind of was informal, now definitely semi-formal to even very formal, you might say. A community of higher education careers professionals, all who work in the graduate career support space. So either in specific roles supporting graduates, or that's maybe a focus as part of the role within their kind of career service. And we've kind of been meeting regularly since autumn 2022, and the network is still going. More and more people kind of joining every month. Laurie's been along before, so that, there's a bit of a kind of connectivity there. And we get lots of kind of external guests coming to speak about exactly this topic. I think it's such an important area. And it's just great to be part of a really kind of wide community of practice. So a big shout out to everyone who's involved in that group.
Oh, wow. I love that. You guys have picked like some really great shout outs. As you're listening, viewers, are you thinking about the people who are in your professional or maybe perhaps personal network who you are thinking that you're sort of finding a root of gratitude and appreciation? So thank you for that, Chris, and Lawrie as well. I've got, again, I'm being a bit greedy today. I've got two shout outs. One, I'm going to start off with Anne Wilson. She's going to absolutely hate me for doing this because she's so, in her mannerisms, just sort of understated. But honestly, recently, I follow her on LinkedIn and her content has really been resonating with me. So if anybody else is looking for, what more content than the We Are Career Show would you need personally? But however, if you're looking for more content out there, Anne Wilson, who's award-winning women's development trainer and also ACPAS president, she does amazing content. And just this morning, she talks about what kind of leader are you? And in her blog, she explores how to combine your unique strength to identify your inner superhero with a little help from AI, which is what I'm kind of getting in terms of the themes that Lawrie, our guest today, is going to be talking about. So go check out that. It's How to Discover Your Inner Superhero with AI. It's on Anne Wilson's LinkedIn profile. And then speaking of community, I'm going to give a big shout out. So we're on tour right now, and we had a moment, is all I can describe as, where at our Birmingham venue, within 2 hours of us going live, so this was me and my co-founder, the venue, for some health and safety reasons, pulled out. 2 hours before, we had 160 people rocking up within 60 minutes. And honestly, I cannot tell you how the life drained out of me, but thanks to the team, thanks to our community, we were able to still pull it off. And honestly, I cannot even say, I think divine intervention had a hand in this. So just feeling really super grateful of how amazing, and that also gives a shout out to, who I'm giving a shout out to, is the INSA, which stands for the Indian National Student Association, who helped us get a venue for 160 people at the last minute in Birmingham. Oh my gosh. So thank you all the team at INSA. So that wraps up today our segment on Careers Cheers. And if you're thinking of somebody right now as you were listening to us, send them a message, send them a little note to say thank you and why they are helping you and impacting you in the way that you do your work. Chris, should we move on to the main topic of the podcast today?
I think we should, yeah, and it's such a great topic to cover, and I think, as always, we probably want loads more time than we've got. So let's just kind of dig in now. Lawrie, you've talked already a little bit about the work of Mindless Academy and given some great shout outs to some of the students and now graduates that you've kind of worked with in the past, or working with currently. I guess at the time that this podcast is going out, it's kind of coming up to the start of the academic year in universities. It's already started in schools and colleges. Often the focus is very much on those kind of new students, and I think sometimes post kind of graduations, particularly in the summer, gets to around that kind of September time, and people sort of forget, actually, this is a time that can be really, really challenging for new graduates, early career graduates, difficult transitions all around, not just in terms of leaving university, but entering the job market and also life transitions. So let's just kind of talk a little bit more about that. And I suppose what would be really interesting to know is, how is that work you're kind of doing with Mindless Academy sort of supporting those early career graduate transitions. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. And I actually want to start by saying that it's a challenging situation for the universities as well as the students and graduates, because universities have got so much pressure right now to do more with less and navigate so many complexities in so many different areas. So I don't envy the challenge that universities have, but I really hope that we can help support in any way that we can. And when it comes to students, there's layers to the challenges that they're facing. On a macro level, the obvious stuff, kind of cost of living and political challenges, also like the acceleration of social anxiety and the lack of interpersonal skills, exacerbated by COVID, digital disparity as well, digital literacy, overall professionalism and knowing how to handle yourself in a professional environment for the first time. Social mobility, not necessarily having kind of parents, caregivers, role models who can open doors for you. You have to knock on doors yourself and get your foot in the door. And once you do, you have to graft and get your reputation up. So there's so many challenges actually that I can imagine it feels incredibly overwhelming to be a graduate today. And then when it comes to employability and actually gaining work experience, there's that kind of the infographic that goes around about you can't get experience without experience and how much of a vicious cycle that really is. And, one of the reasons Mindless Academy exists is because I personally was disappointed with the level of quality and meaning and purpose behind the traditional work experience or internship model. That's not to say there aren't brilliant opportunities out there, but I would say on the whole, there's a lack of standards and quality, and guaranteeing students experience is definitely a lack of equality within that space and accessibility. You might go to one organization and have the most incredible mentor who coaches and guides and teaches and trains and reflects with you and really helps you through that process. But I've also witnessed plenty of cases where that doesn't happen. And sometimes that actually diminishes confidence even more. And it's kind of the stats to report this on confidence dropping throughout the university journey and actually falling off a cliff as students start to graduate and hit the point of graduation. And that's where we are really wanting to support students the most. And that's actually why we created our community, the Graduate Mindset. Students within our network were struggling exactly at that point of leaving university and feeling lost and clueless. Even having gone through our program and built up some levels of resilience and confidence and motivation, this big shift into a new chapter of life was really daunting for the most. And so we've set up a community called the Graduate Mindset, which is free for anybody and everybody to join. It's for soon to be and recent graduates to tackle some graduate specific challenges along the way.
I love that, Lawrie. And can I ask, okay, because I do a lot of work with international job hunters, does the Academy also benefit those who are not British nationals and who are looking for job opportunities in the UK that are foreign nationalities?
100%. And I would actually say we are seeing the highest engagement from that cohort. And I'd say that's from a variety of reasons. The very obvious need for support. There's only so much university and their teams can do as well. And sometimes peer-to-peer relatability is very important. Exposure to other people and other organizations and other experiences that broaden your horizons. And just that sense of belonging, I think, as well. So we see the highest engagement from international students, and actually we're creating a program, or we developed a program specific to international students. We've also got one specific to graduates now. So we're tailoring what we do to cater to specific audiences and tackle their very specific challenges.
I love that. And I know my community that follows me will love this. So definitely that is just great to know. And what I'm getting from you, okay, Lawrie, is the importance of community. That for me, and which is something that I'm personally really resonating with. Are you, the viewers, resonating with this sense of community? And especially when we had our, and even that message came through when we had our recent conversation with Romario Ellis when referring to Young Apprentice. Have you found a similar benefit for the graduates you work with by the Mindless Academy when it comes to them having a network? I kind of know what you're going to say next, but I think the viewers would love to hear your perspective on this. When it comes to having a network of individuals in similar positions to themselves, Lawrie, what would you say to that?
Yes, is the very short answer that I was going to say. But actually, I reflect a lot on this topic. My word of the year for 2024 is connection. and I've moved to Lisbon recently. I'm a digital nomad and I've moved to Lisbon. And one of the main reasons I've personally moved here is because the like-minded communities, the tribes that I'm seeking are here. There are plenty of startups and founders for me to connect with and have kind of peer-to-peer conversations with and get inspiration from. There's a big spiritual community and personal development community here as well. And there's also a really strong fitness community. And I literally wrote down the target communities I wanted to be part of. And it's one of the reasons that I've moved over to Lisbon. So I'm very kind of conscious of our intrinsic need for community and connection. I do think it has roots in our kind of hunter-gatherer selves in the past. And I think that, social media is kind of a weird contradiction. It brings us together and separates us at the same time. And we're all almost overly connected, but also incredibly lonely as well. Correct. And I know that comes through from the students. And when you speak to somebody who just gets it, it changes everything for you. You just know that you're not alone at all. So that's the purpose and the strength in our community. There's a combination of speakers within our network as well. And I really think that, again, kind of reflects back the tribal setup in that we have elders, and I'll call myself an elder now. I'm 20 years out of university, so I consider myself one of those. I've lived experiences that I can guide people on who are kind of more junior in their journeys or their career journeys of life. But then we've got graduates who've literally just walked out the doors of university, and they can express how they're feeling at that moment in time to give soon-to-be graduates a bit of insight into what that looks like and how it feels. So I just think there's so much power to community. I was actually having a conversation with Georgia from my team this morning, and she said that one of the things that's unlocked her potential as being part of Mindless has been the exposure to people that she never would normally meet in her own current circles as well. So there's something magic about connecting people with true purpose at the heart of everything. So that's what we're doing with the graduate mindset.
Yeah, it's notable how much community is coming back as a theme, as kind of Sabir mentioned. And we've heard that through sort of a number of guests. I mean, in terms of, I guess, what that sort of looks like, so what that community looks like for graduates who are involved in the graduate mindset, can you tell us a little bit more, I guess, around what some of those, activities, events involve, and I guess how that's, as you said, sort of bringing people together and helping them find some of these different types of individuals that can form a community for them?
Absolutely. So I think the students taking part in our programs have by default been invited to kind of a behind the scenes community. So that's where it started. We introduced the graduate mindset late last year, and we've always got a start small, think big approach to anything we do at Mindless. So we've kind of been seeing how it goes, seeing how it builds, seeing what the interest is and what the students actually want and the graduates actually want from us, from this community. And then more recently, we're bringing in some really brilliant guest speakers. We have Vivi, the founder of Black Bullion, a financial well-being app that works with universities and students. And last night, Monday evening, we had a football player talking to us from Norwich City Football Club, talking about the importance of sleep, nutrition and fitness. This is just the beginning of the graduate mindset. We've got thousands of students on our kind of database that want to receive invites to this event. We have hundreds of signups to any given live event and plenty more watching it on demand. So this is really just the beginning. What we're planning for the coming academic year is to be able to offer so many more opportunities to engage with that community, so many more employers, charities, guest speakers who inspire the students, as well as so many more alumni who can come back and share their story with the community as well. So it's kind of a watch this space comment on the graduate mindset.
Excellent. And I know we're going to kind of come back to that a little bit in terms of kind of how people can kind of get involved. I mean, I think what's really interesting is, again, so many parallels with what we talked about around sort of the earlier sort of career apprentice space with Romario on a previous episode, which was this idea of actually there kind of being gaps really in the market. And as you said, not necessarily gaps in the market that are looked at from a business development perspective, but more from actually there are individuals out there, they're not maybe getting all of the support they can. And as you said, there's, complex reasons for that. It can be around university funding, finance. It can be that, genuinely the quality of some of the experiences out there doesn't perhaps measure up to what it should. But obviously kind of what you're doing with Mindless Academy is attempting to kind of fill that gap and provide that space for community that perhaps doesn't always exist. So I think this kind of brings us really nicely onto, I suppose, what many viewers and listeners watching will want to know, which is, if they've got an interest in the work you're doing with Mindless, or perhaps, they work for an institutional work with clients who happen to be early career graduates, and they want to find out more about the graduate mindset or any of the programs that, you're currently involved in, what would you suggest? Where should they start?
LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn. That's where you can find me and Mindless Academy. And just to say that our university partnerships have kickstarted in so many different ways, because what we do can support so many different student cohorts and student needs. We offer our virtual work experience programs as targeted support, as well as truly integrated employability solutions. For targeted, we might offer extracurricular to support graduates, to support internationals, to support widening participation students, maybe those with care duties specifically as well. And then from an integrated perspective, we're looking at multi-year employability journeys. We're developing those with several of our partners, and faculty-wide deployments. There is so much to do in this space, and actually so much that we have to offer in such a stackable, scalable, and meaningful way. So that's the virtual work experience program element of what we do. If you're interested to book a call, you can find the link on my LinkedIn. And I know that all the other useful links will be sent alongside this podcast. But when it comes to the graduate mindset, we really have like a more the merrier kind of approach to this. Please get this out in front of your students. It is completely free to join. It is bubbling up as such an exciting grassroots community of students and graduates. And I really think that's going to be one of the biggest achievements and biggest proud moments for Mindless next year when we look back on what we've done, is building this community up. So that's again on LinkedIn and free to join.
Wow. That is just phenomenal. And I'm loving, as you said, all the verticals, all the different ways, from whether it's employers, organizations, educational establishments, how you're sort of kind of taking almost like a 360 approach, Lawrie, to this, and making sure that all the stakeholders that need to be involved in this conversation to help and support graduates is being done. That's sort of what's standing out to me. Folks, what's standing out to you? What was the sort of kind of key takeaways and message that you've taken from today's show? So folks, that's it. We have rapidly come to the end of today's show. So Chris, your final thoughts before we say goodbye.
Yes, thanks, Sabir. And I think, first of all, obviously, again, a massive thank you to Lawrie for coming and joining us today. Another international guest. It's always nice to kind of have guests sort of coming to us from all sorts of different corners of the world. And I think, the topic once again reinforces a lot of the stuff that we've been kind of talking about in previous episodes, which is the career development space is open for lots and lots of different stakeholders, contributors. There is so much, it's such a huge space. And I think, we only get better by interacting and kind of engaging and collaborating and working with different stakeholders offering different things. So hopefully what you've heard today will kind of give you that sort of buzz and excitement that, there's lots of really, really cool, exciting work going on, particularly in kind of the graduate career support space and the higher education student support space. And not all of it is coming from the traditional kind of platforms and the traditional organizations. So if you haven't checked out Mindless Academy yet, do check them out. As Lawrie mentioned, everything we've been talking about, all the links, all the resources that we've kind of referenced or sort of linked to, all of that will be in the YouTube description or in the Spotify episode notes. So do check those out. But as you say, Spear, we are at the end of the episode. That is it for this week. We are going to be back in the Career Sphere in a fortnight's time. So we hope you have a wonderful fortnight. We say a massive thank you again to Lawrie, a massive thank you to all of you watching or listening at home, and we'll see you in the Career Sphere.